everyone, welcome to another video. I start school tomorrow, but I just wanted to try out a different location to record. So yeah, that's like my bed right there. That's my couch that I used to record at. So yeah. Today we're going to talk about mental health and how mental health can make someone selfish, right? But before people start getting mad at me, before people start commenting paragraphs, let me explain. Let me preface that I have struggled with mental health as well, and I have first-hand experience with this and seeing how it impacts your life. And also, at the end of the video, I will be explaining the irony of mental health and the struggles that come along with it. And I have my notes on this tablet, so I'll be looking down here a lot. When dealing with mental health, you often get in your own head, replaying insecurities, experiences in the mind, and often going around life with a preconceived idea about you, the world, and how people view you, which can lead to closed-mindedness and closed-offness. This can make it hard for people to have deep conversations with you and often get you so trapped in your own sorrow that it's hard for you to look at others and see what other people are dealing with and see how other people are responding or dealing with your struggles as well. This is also part of the reason why people advise caution when people who struggle with mental health get into relationships. Because of how much mental health takes away from a person, their energy becomes poured into just trying to keep themselves sane or alive, which in turn doesn't allow for the care and patience it takes to be in a relationship with another person. This involves family, friend, and romantic relationships all alike. Because with relationships, I feel like over time we've developed this idea that it's very easy to be in one, when in reality it does take a lot of effort to be like in a friendship with another person, with a relationship with another person, for the family that you currently have, either you live with or like you're close to. A lot of people, for their immediate family, like it's hard to keep those relationships in place because there's so much of the world that wants to take our attention and wants to take our energy and wants to take our time. So that's why when mental health comes into play, it almost makes you pour more time into yourself because of the little energy you feel like you have. You almost have to pour it into yourself, if that makes sense. Like, you might feel like very weak. You might feel very like lazy, more sluggish. You might feel even more energized. Some people, when they deal with mental health, they feel more energized. They feel actually the opposite. They want to go out and do things. They want to like ignore. They want to escape. But that also puts into a different idea of why, of like, is that authentic, right? That question, is it authentic if I go out and do all these things, knowing I'm struggling, knowing I'm like leaving these things I'm dealing with behind, and in turn, like, giving people this time of me that isn't truly authentic because I'm dealing with stuff behind closed doors type. That's what goes on in my brain when I'm trying to explain the different types of ways mental health can be interpreted and seen within people and society. I also feel as if mental health can make one feel so lonely and insecure that your mind blocks out the truth of situations. Many of times being that you do have a support system and people who care about you and are willing to help you in any way they can. My point with this part is that often, like, depression, anxiety, like these things, they want to make it seem like you are by yourself or alone in this, or like that you don't have people that care about you that will help as much as they can, when in reality that you probably have a family member or a friend that would be willing to lend an ear and listen to whatever you're going through. And I know that's a blessing, because I know there are also situations where like it doesn't feel like there isn't anyone. Like maybe family members have passed away and friends have gone and stuff like that. In those situations, I feel like it's important to not let that limit you, right? To make new connections, even though it's hard. Find something somewhere. That's the main thing that humanity really needs. It's connection. And without that, people just become a melting pot of like disaster, to be honest. And that's why that's the first thing that is attacked when in mental health. Because if you're able to think that you don't have a community, that means that if you're able to, humans were made for community, and the way mental health works is that it attacks your sense of community first, which makes you lonely, which makes you isolated, which makes you easier of a target. Now with the second half of this video about what's ironic about all this that I'm talking about the selfishness that comes with mental health, is that just as much as mental health makes you focus on you a lot more and your brain focuses on your insecurities and your shortcomings, there's often an idea of someone being less preoccupied with themselves. There's a reason why in a lot of mental health cases, people often don't have the energy or willpower to shower, brush their teeth, or take their education seriously, or make time with their loved ones. It's a duality of mental health struggles that make a lot of people paralyzed and stay in that state of mind and time for a longer time than one might think would be necessary for whatever situation they're dealing with. To put it plainly, mental health drags people down and makes people focus on themselves. A lot of their minds are replaying thoughts and experiences about themselves, which makes them end up unintentionally tuning out other people and making decisions that only work for themselves. For example, coping mechanisms like smoking or SH or trying to find different relationships to fill the void can be harmful for people around you. But in that moment, you can't really see that. You only see a way out of the pain. You only see a way to get out of whatever situation you're in. That feeling of loneliness, that feeling of like destruction, that feeling of hurt. But at the same time of you using these coping mechanisms, you're also deteriorating, whether mentally or physically. And this is because of the nature of coping mechanisms, right? Usually there are some like helpful coping mechanisms, right? But the harmful ones, they're very temporary, right? If I feel like, honestly, I can speak hot take, but I can speak towards all coping mechanisms, honestly. Like they are very temporary, whether the healthy coping mechanisms or the harmful coping mechanisms, they're very temporary, right? And as much as I feel like it's important to have healthy coping mechanisms, of course, I feel like what is more impactful is trying to get yourself to the root of your issue, to the root of whatever you're dealing with, whether that be insecurity about your looks, whether that be with an experience that has happened in your past, whether that be with like the relationships you're in, something that's going on, that needs to be deconstructed, that needs to be understood before you develop yourself into these coping mechanisms. And it takes time. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's you can have these coping mechanisms, healthy ones, and then over time you start understanding more about yourself and why you think the way that you do about yourself or the world or the people around you. Now, I know that the word selfish insinuates some sort of self-idea involved, but it becomes more complicated when someone does something that they truly might not want to do, but they have that feeling like they need to do it in order to keep up appearances or themselves in line. Which brings me back to the coping mechanisms, because of the way that people often use them to like often they feel better after they use them. So they're often able to go out in society for a longer amount of time because they have that sort of stress relief, that sort of anxiety relief, that sort of depression relief that makes them more presentable to people who don't understand the situation or don't know what's going on. Because it takes a lot of time and energy to explain to people, and vulnerability to explain to people like, hey, this is going on. And not every situation calls for that, which is why people start relying on coping mechanisms. And often the harmful ones are easier and more of like convenient than a lot of the healthier ones. Now, there are countless examples of this represented within the media, right? For example, Davy and Ginny. While I don't think these characters are comparable because they have totally different experiences and personalities, I do feel like the idea of them making decisions that hurt others because of their trauma is something that is notable. But both of these characters have gotten also more character development over time on their shows as well. And my thing with these characters is that I just don't like how people compare them, because I just feel like the only things that are similar about them is that they're both of some sort of ethnic or racial background, and that they both end up making bad decisions in a teenage show. That's the only similarities. I feel like literally personality wise, they're totally different, and experience wise, they're almost totally different. Like nothing, like really nothing about them is the same. And even their relationship with their ethnicity slash race, the shows take different approaches and different problems that people might experience with that different. Like they do it differently. Like Devi, it's more about her accepting her background and being able to love where she's from and partake in things that she once thought was like weird. And then with Ginny, it's more like almost like, since she's mixed, right? She's half black, half white. It's like, it's about her like fitting in with people and being comfortable with both parts of herself and stuff like that. I just feel like those two situations are different. They're different characters, and I don't like how people compare them just because they're both people of color. Like I feel like I need more than that to just compare these two. But yeah, I guess in certain regards, again, with the whole like trauma and how that makes them do things that hurt others, like I see that part of it. But yeah, of course, they're not the only two examples of like trauma and how that impacts the world in the show, and how the main character or the character is able to navigate that, because that's a very human experience. Like something small or something that can seem small in the grand scheme of things even can impact your life in such a way that makes you like struggle, that reminds you every day that there might be things that you're not good at, or that there might be things that aren't so beautiful about you, or that aren't so kind about you, that makes it hard for everyday life, you know? But yeah, mental health is something that takes away from a person struggling as well as the people around them. It's important to take care of one another and be available for people when they need it most. And it's important to think before you act in case you do something that ends up causing something that makes someone spiral or deteriorate.